let us ask you this. Are you tired all the time? It's one of the most common complaints that we get, right? People are tired all the time, they can't concentrate, sometimes they just can't do what they want to do because they're so tired and exhausted from what's going on in their life. That can sometimes be because maybe they're not got the right habits in place to be able to create that energy. Sometimes it's because they're absorbing the energy of other people and they don't know how to protect their energy and spend their energy. And that's why we're here talking to you today.
Definitely, and basically what we're talking about today is that elusive, invisible thing that we often take for granted, which is energy. Okay, it's something that is actually tangible and creates chemical reactions inside of us, determining how we actually show up. And it's not solely based on mental constructs, which means that it's not about, you probably heard people, oh, just think that you're energized and you'll have more energy.
Yeah.
And that is true to a point. You can think that way, but there's other concepts and other modalities that come into that to make sure that you can create and maintain energy, not just thinking that you're energized and you're going to be energized.
And that's the key, it's about maintaining it and making sure it's sustainable and it's lasting, because there's no point being super energetic for like a day and then you're dead for the rest of the week. You know, there's no way to live, is it? So what we want to share with you in this episode really is, you know, how can you actually start to observe your energy, to shift that energy? What do you need to do in order to be able to shift that so you can have sustainable energy? Because one of the things I've found on my journey personally is that when we put our focus into taking care of our energy, everything else starts to shift. And I never used to be the way that I am now in this context of energy and understand just how important it is. I'll give you an example of when I used to work in London. I used to work in a facility in London. I used to have like an hour and a half commute, and I was driving in to work, and you know, it was like kind of shift work, so I would be like going in, I was opening up the gyms and opening up the club and that kind of thing. So I would literally like leave home about 4:30 in the morning in order to get there in time to open up the club, and then I would stay, usually because I was the manager there, I would stay right up until maybe 7-8 o'clock in the evening, and then the commute back. So you could just imagine kind of my day there and what that could look like. And I got into this habit of having Red Bull, okay? And I'm sure if you haven't heard of Red Bull, it's that caffeinated drink that, you know, just full of stuff that's gonna give you that instant lift potentially, but there's a bit of a crash after. And I kind of just gradually got into this habit. I was completely unaware I was even doing it. I kind of stopped at the petrol station, but okay, I just need something, and I don't drink coffee, otherwise that probably would have been my go-to like everybody else. And I just started having this Red Bull, so this sugar, this caffeine, and whatever else is in there, I was like just consuming. And it was only one day I went to give a friend of mine a lift in the car. We were going somewhere, and all of a sudden, like, I opened the door for my friend, and all these cans come falling out. I don't know if you've seen that movie, Yes Man, where he's at this all-night rave, and he's like, it's still wired in the morning, he gets out the car, and all of these like cans just follow him out of the car. It was a bit like that, and at that point I was like, whoa, hang on a minute, like it just sort of come into my awareness that this isn't right. I shouldn't have this many cans, you know, and I shouldn't be drinking this stuff. Because what was happening is, like, yeah, I was getting that little bit of a buzz, that little bit of a wake-up call when I needed it there, but then I was having this drop. You know, I'd get home and I was good for nothing. I wouldn't be able to sleep properly when I got home before I had to wake up and do it all again. And I was exercising at this time. I was training, so my body was already under a lot of stress, and I was just adding to it more and more and more. And I was feeling more and more tired, as I'm sure you can imagine. Imagine what the weekends looked like, totally fatigued. And that was just no way to live, really. And it was getting frustrating. I got to the point where I actually couldn't really concentrate on what it was I was actually doing. And that was when I knew something needed to change when it comes to my energy. I needed to stop using it as a crutch and actually figure a way to do this in a healthy way. And that's where we've ended up now.
Definitely. For me, I didn't even know, for a long time, I didn't even know what kind of being energized felt like. I'd spent a lot of time in exhaustion and fatigue. I'd working literally 16, 17 hours a day. The same kind of scenario, getting up at like 4 a.m, getting into work and then not leaving till like 9 or 10 p.m. in the evening. And I mean, like 4 or 5 hours sleep and broken sleep because of the fact that I was so stressed and exhausted. And I just remember being tired all the time, and my kind of pick me up used to be, well, it used to be caffeine, coffee. Like, I still love coffee, but definitely don't drink it into the excesses I used to, which is like 9 cups a day plus on some days. And that was to try and boost me up to keep me going for the day.
You literally used to have, you know, those loyalty cards. I'm sure I'll probably send this on another video.
Buy 10, get one free type of thing.
Yeah, he'd go through like one a day.
Not well, every couple of days.
Pretty much one a day.
Okay, nearly one a day. But that was my go-to, and the fact is, obviously at that time, I never connected the two together. I was thinking, okay, caffeine, coffee, energy, but actually it had the adverse effect. It was adding on to my exhaustion, my stress, and making things worse. And I was fatigued all the time. I was constantly in pain. I was feeling angry, irritable. And I just remember I couldn't connect the two. Why am I feeling like this? I was trying to patchwork my energy. It was basically, I felt like if you imagine a car in a destruction derby, where it's all battered and bruised and literally like hanging on its last legs, that's how my body felt. And I was like trying to add basic caffeine to that scenario to keep me going, to keep that, to try and keep my foot on the gas, and it just wasn't working. And I've done that for years and years, nearly like over a decade, and it took me a while to realize the same thing is this, like, okay, what I'm doing is not working. I'm in a state of reaction here. I'm trying to basically put a band-aid over a broken bone here. It's not working. It's not doing anything. So I had to really step back and think, okay, my energy is under my control. And once I started to realize that and started to think, okay, everything I'm doing, I can create and maintain my energy, that's when things started to really change. And that's when, well, everything started to change. Every aspect of my life started to improve, really.
Yeah, and guys, if you might be listening to this and you might be thinking, well, I don't drink coffee, I don't have Red Bull or caffeinated drinks. We do it in other ways too, right? We think about your day, and we'll talk about this a bit later. It's like, where could you be patchworking your energy a little bit here? Because it's not just those things that we kind of almost lean on to be able to have that energy fix, isn't it? So basically, as you can imagine, you know, energy is one of our greatest assets, right? With energy, we perform at our best, right? We can actually learn to utilize that energy so we can perform at our best when we want to. Because when we are energized, like John was just saying there, he's much more on it, much more resourceful. He's able to, you know, live his life in the way he wants to. He's not this angry guy all the time. He's able to actually get up and do the things that he loves and feel energized in doing that. And that comes from focusing on energy a bit as well, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And the thing is, like, energy doesn't actually take extra time, right? And this is a big misconception, because everyone's like, oh, well, yeah, I want to be more energized. And they don't put time in to do it, therefore they think they've always got to stay that way. And that's not necessarily true, because our energy is a byproduct of all of our other behaviours and habits, right? So when we then can get a grip on those and we understand what they're a byproduct of, we're then able to leverage our energy in a way that serves us, so that we can have more energy, have more clarity, have more time, okay? Not literally, we don't have more than 24 hours in a day, but we feel like there's more time because we can do more in that time, can't we?
Yeah, for sure. And so think of it, take the example of obviously your work. Most of us, well, a lot of people work 8 hour, even more than 8 hour days these at the moment. And think about if you could work 1 hour on a like focused, high level, high energy focused work, and think how much better that's going to be for your overall wellness and health compared to trying to stretch out 8 hours of consistent low energy. And that's what the majority of people do, is like, you can't be productive for 8 hours straight. Yeah. It's impossible. And a lot of science and research is backing that up.
A great book reference there, if anybody who want, is a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. A very good book, really talking about how when we actually go deep for a short amount of time, the studies they've done, which shows you just that the output that can come is absolutely incredible. Yeah,
definitely. And that's it, is like, if you can get the same output, or a better output in doing 1 or 2 hours of solid focus high energy work compared to stretching out your energy and trying to find things to do or slow things down just to get through 8 hours, which is exhausting, is going to definitely be so much better for your keeping your energy consistent, and just everyone really. And this is why so many forward-thinking companies around the world are starting to lower their average weekly working hours, because they know they can get the best from their employees. Because if you think that if you work 5 days a week and you're told that, okay, you only need to work 3 days, but you need to get the same amount of work done, how like energized are you going to be to get that done, knowing you've got like 4 days now, you can do whatever else you want in that same time frame? And the funny thing is most people they can all do that in half the time that they've been allocated if they put the energy and the focus into that time frame instead of thinking, oh, I've got the whole week to do this, and think I've got only a small amount of time, let's get it done.
Yeah, that's so true. If you give somebody a week to do something, they'll take a week to do it. If you give them a day to do something, they'll get it done in a day, right? Because things rearrange in your mind, and you think about it, you strategize very differently to get that thing done. It's so interesting, isn't it? We do that for ourselves as well. Like we pull deadlines in to make sure that it's sufficient. If we need more time, we can adapt to that.
Exactly.
But the reality is, actually, no, we want a high performance. We want to make sure that we're delivering the best that we possibly can, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Because we live in a society at the moment where people are always looking for that next like sports drink, that next energy bar, that next cup of coffee that's going to give them that like extra edge, that boost to get through their day. So it's like that quick fix, like instant gratification mentality, and that's something we need to move away from, and move away from those. Oh, I'm feeling a dip during the day, I need a coffee.
Or
I need an energy bar.
Or
first thing in the morning, I need to grab a coffee. Okay, these are the kind of those unhealthy habits that create more stress, create more fatigue, more pressure on your whole system as a whole, and start to compound and make things worse, don't they?
Absolutely. And listen, we're not saying that you can't have a cup of coffee in the morning, right? What we're saying is you need to be aware of why. What's the intention behind that? Is it to give you an energy boost? Is it just because you love the taste and it brings you that lovely feeling of joy and warm fuzziness inside? Like, what is it? What's the thing? But you're absolutely right. That quick fix, instant gratification is what we're going for, and that is not sustainable over time, which is why one of the reasons why we're obviously seeing more and more people getting sick, and getting sick younger as well. Yeah, it's fantastic we've got medicine to be able to help people when they get sick, so that we're living longer. But what's the quality of that life as we're living longer? That's what we've got to start questioning, really. And like I said earlier, is people are not necessarily, you guys listening to this might not necessarily be doping yourselves up with caffeine or whatever, but one of the things you are likely doing is very, very common, is trying to manage your time. Right, that's usually one of the biggest factors when it comes to energy. Is people are like, okay, I've got to get more done, there's more expectations, more demands, I need more time, how can I cram more into my day? And that is becoming worse than caffeine in some respects, because there's this extra pressure and this sense of urgency on absolutely everything that you're doing. And then that feeds into this whole identity and self-talk that we have. Well, I didn't get it done. I'm not good enough. Am I ever going to do this? Am I ever going to do that? Boss is going to be happy. Boss is going to be unhappy. I'll never get my business off the ground. Like, whatever this self-talk is going on, because of this like insane focus on time, it's causing problems, right? It's creating even more stress, and that stress is compounding, which is adding on. And that's just not okay if you want to be living a healthy, balanced life where you can actually show up as your best, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones as well. So important. And our energy is something that if we focus on energy instead of time, you win. You can leverage that. And that is where the magic happens, as far as I'm concerned. Look at the best performers in the world, the highest performers. Look at your Richard Bransons, look at your Tony Robbins, look at your Brendan Burchards, look at your Oprah Winfreys. Do you think they don't give their energy a second thought? No way. They're hacking their lives all of the time to make sure that they've got the conducive habits to actually succeed with that energy. And it's so powerful when you're around people like this. Not that we're hanging out with Richard Branson just yet, but when you're hanging around people that are energized and vibrant, you feel it, right? Have you ever been around somebody that they just light you up, and you leave them and you're like, whoa, actually I feel really good? Yeah, that's because they probably take care of their energy. Right, there's something that they're doing in their lives where they're igniting that within them, because we do generate it from within. But on the flip side, there will be people that you surround yourself with that you leave them and you feel really deflated, and you feel very tired, like you want to nap, or you're just feeling a bit slower than you were before you saw them. We've all been there, we all know people like this, okay? But your job is to own what's going on with you and learn what you can actually do to manage your energy, and that's what we're going to share with you now.
Definitely. And the first step to kind of managing your energy here is to observe where your energy is actually going. This is extremely important. So imagine take your phone, for example. Most people have got a smartphone nowadays, and think of your phone as like your body. Okay, they both got a energy bar. Basically, got a certain amount of energy throughout the day. If you've got a full bar of energy on your phone, then the same thing. If you have a good night's sleep, you wake up and you should have 100% on your energy bar when you wake up.
Just to add that, if you're waking up and you don't have 100% bar, you really need to take on board what we're saying today.
Yes, because that 100%, if that's not 100%, it's definitely not going to last you very long. But now think about throughout the day. Obviously, the same on your phone. Obviously, the more you use your phone, the more you use the apps on your phone and the features on your phone, the quicker that energy bar reduces and drops. The same thing with your body. As you go through a day, your energy starts to drop. It starts to reduce slightly. And the more that's going on in your head, the more you're doing physically, the more that's going on in your life, that energy drops quicker. Okay, and the important thing here is to realize where that energy is going. Okay, so it's important here is to take notes. So we challenge you to actually keep an energy diary. It's throughout the day, find out basically what needs to shift in your life and reflect on where you can actually create more energy. So what parts of your day are kind of sapping more energy than they need to? Where can you flip that around and start to maintain or create more energy where you need to? Okay, so by keeping this diary, you become aware of where those energy spots or those energy dips in the day come, and you can start to then put an action plan into place to maintain your energy throughout the day, so you don't have those massive ups and downs. So by the end of the day, you go home and you're just completely exhausted to do anything. Okay, and that's very important. It is about supporting all areas of your life by maintaining your energy.
So once you've observed your energy and you've kept this kind of diary for the last 24 hours and you can start to see where your energy is going, you need to now recognize what is energizing you and what is not. Okay, and first thing, let's start with like, what does energize us? Okay, now you've probably heard us speak about these 8 habits that you need to live a healthy, balanced life. Okay, we call them the magic 8, and these all help you to provide more energy. So we're talking about food, we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about emotions, we're talking about your sleep quality, we're talking about your quality of thinking, we're talking about your breathing, we're talking about how you actually show up and take action towards what it is you really, really want. And we're talking about how you move as well, definitely, how you're utilising this system, your actual phone in the first place, if we're going to go off of John's analogy. We incorporate all these things in energies that are kind of created with all of those things, provided we're taking care of those areas I just mentioned. The other thing as well is like people as well. People is a biggie, and that kind of comes in with action. Okay, when we're talking about the magic 8, we're talking about the action that's being taken. Because when we're talking about action, we're talking about action towards your purpose, to action towards who you are, who it is you really are. And if you are being true to yourself, would you be showing up and hanging out with people that don't energize you? Likely not. There's going to be some resistance there, which is why we then feel differently. We have a different emotional reaction. We start to perceive the world in a different way. We start to think differently. And all of these things then have a knock-on effect to our energy. So you need to start looking at your life, looking at your days, and start to then go through and look at those observations that you made and decide, okay, this is energizing me, this is not, okay? So if you're not already, okay, have a look at the Magic 8 and make sure that you are stepping your game up in those, because again, like I said earlier, is that it doesn't take extra time. It just takes your attention and your awareness to be able to then tweak it as you go. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. That makes sense. And it's also important to now also become aware of what actually doesn't energize you. And this is what people aren't aware of. They don't become aware of this until it's too late, and then that's when they actually, I need help now. And one of those things, there's a few things I can, and it's actually the same as what energizes you. People is another one that can actually zap your energy. Like Charlotte said, obviously non-nutritious foods, lack of sleep, all this stuff. So basically the opposite of what we've been talking about, of good sleep, good food, quality thinking, the opposite of that can zap your energy. And you can overcome this by basically eliminating wasted time as one. So stop scrolling through social media like mindlessly. Stop scrolling through and kind of having pointless conversations that just don't add value to your life. Always ask yourself the question, with whatever you're doing, does this add value to what I want? Is this taking me towards what I want? If not, and you're just scrolling through, social media, just because you're bored, that is zapping your energy. That is wasting your time, wasting your energy, and is not adding any value to your life. Okay, so it's important to understand if you are going through social media, make sure it's something that you're learning or taking on board, or that's going to add something to what it is you want and the direction that you're going in.
And this is not just social media,
No,
right? This is anything. This is
Yeah.
like TV. This is the people you're hanging out with, the
Magazines,
books that you're
books,
reading.
whatever.
Yeah, this is everything.
Everything,
guys.
yeah, exactly. And one of the other things, one of the other ways to overcome these kind of energy sapping things is avoiding energy vampires. And this is meant by avoiding people who zap your energy. And so don't spend time with people who drain you. Okay, anyone who brings you down or anyone who tries to rain on your energy parade is someone that you need to avoid. And if you can't avoid them, is limit the amount of time you spend with them.
We actually did a podcast, I believe it was called How to Deal with Negative People. So search for that on our podcast if you're struggling with that one, because there's some real good tips in there.
Definitely, because remember, you can have a ton of energy, and the longer you spend with someone who is an energy vampire, that will start to drain. Eventually, you'll go down to their level. So it's important that you do become aware of who these people are and decide whether I can cut them out. Like, completely sounds harsh, but it's your health that's needed, or you limit the amount of time you spend with them. One of the other things you can do to overcome this is about kind of block out downtime for yourself. And this is something a lot of people don't do. They're so focused on other people and external things, they forget about themselves. So even just as little as 10 minutes of quiet time a day is enough for you to kind of rebalance your energy. But a vacation, obviously, we usually always recharge your batteries and kind of bring that reserve of energy back. But it's important that you give that downtime for yourself. Okay, somewhere in your day, everyone can definitely block out at least 10 minutes a day to basically go somewhere quiet, sit away and focus on yourself, whether that's breathing, meditation, reading, or exercise, or even just a quick power nap.
And downtime can also actually be like spending time with loved ones that energize you. That's okay too, so long as you've got that self-awareness of what it's adding for you. That's the most important thing, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. Everything you do has got to add value to what it is you want. That will energize you more. And the last thing here to help you overcome, which we've already mentioned, is breathing. Okay, that will really help you to overcome those energy dips and those massive energy drops that you might feel throughout the day. So most people will take advantage of their ability to breathe, but by breathing high into the chest. So they're not actually aware of how they breathe, and this can actually waste more energy and cause more stress and make you feel more fatigued, more agitated. So by learning to breathe deep into the belly and slowly slow down your breathing, breathe into the belly, and this will really help you to optimize your body's capacity to actually maintain and even create more energy. Okay, so it's important that even if you just do that one thing, whenever you feel that dip, that will help you to bring your energy back up to a balanced level and help you maintain it.
Definitely, and what you said there about like breathing slowly and deeply into the belly, that's really going to help like all day, every day, if you can start like being conscious and breathing that way. But another thing, if you're like about to go into a meeting or something and you're feeling a bit low and you feel like you need a bit of a pick-me-up, then some quick, short, fast breaths can really give you that boost and give you that energy hit as well. So you can play with breath. It's a lot of fun.
Exactly.
And it energizes you. It is our energy. It's our life force energy. It's how things connect inside of us.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So number 3, in terms of manage your energy, is remembering to practice generating it from inside, both psychologically and energetically. And what I mean by this is like setting an intention. Okay, so like John said at the beginning, a big part of energy is us thinking that we are energized, definitely, alongside all of those habits that we just mentioned, all those kind of things you can go away and implement that makes it sustainable. But that intention is really important, because some people miss this altogether. Some people think that they actually can't influence their energy unless they have a coffee or unless they have an energy bar or something, right? So that's a massive misconception, because that's not true at all, because we can literally think, okay, I'm energized, I'm feeling like I can do whatever it is I need to do right now, I can be focused, I can be present. When you set the intention, that's what you get, it's what you receive. I always say, if you think about like marathon runners or people running a race, doesn't even have to be a marathon, but you're running in a race and you get to the finish line, you might be absolutely exhausted. Okay, I remember I was, like when I did the 70.3 Ironman in Dubai, I was dead. By the end of it, I was like, oh my God, how much further to go? Like this dialogue was in my head. And I, every part of me just wanted to walk, and I was not going to let that happen. Physically, I was done right before that race was over, in all honesty. But I thought about it, and I was like, no, I can do this. I'm more than capable. I've just got to get to that finish line. And in my head, I saw the finish line. Right, my intention was I'm going to keep going. I'm going to push through. I'm going to generate this energy from somewhere. Right, I've just done all of this hard work. Right, I've been going for like 7 hours or something. I'm like, I'm not stopping now. I found that energy from somewhere, okay? And that was from psychology and energy, right? You don't rarely see anybody walk over the finish line when they're running a race. It's not just me here. Like, people, they find it from somewhere and they sprint over that finish line, right? And that there is a wonderful feeling, because you know that you have pulled everything that you've got, physically, mentally, emotionally, that's got you to the finish line. And we can do that in every day, not just in races, right? We can do this when we've got to get through that meeting, right? Or when we've got to get through that day and we've had a late night, we didn't sleep well the night before. We can pull it from somewhere, and that intention is where it comes from, okay? The other thing that I want you to think about here is how you can influence or be influenced. Now, another thing I often say is that we have like this energy bubble around us. If you imagine we've got this imaginary big ball around us in every direction, and we're in the centre of it, and it's about 10 metres wide, okay? And anything within that 10 metres is affected by your energy, okay? So right now, me, John and I are in the same energy bubble because we're certainly closer than 10 metres, and we will influence each other energetically based on how the other one's feeling. Okay, and this is the same if you're at a bus stop, or if you're like with your kids, or with your family, or with your friends. You pick up on how they feel. You pick up on those vibes, right? And we either have low vibrational feelings, okay, or we have high vibrational feelings. When they're low, it's very easy for us to be influenced. Okay, so if my energy was vibing very low right now, and John was vibing really high like he is, I would probably be influenced by that, and my vibe will suddenly start to increase, and vice versa. But if we're both sitting here and we're both feeling those low vibrational, slow emotions and slow feelings, we're going to influence each other. Now we're operating on that level, right? It's like sitting in a sinking ship and there's a hole in it and we're not doing anything about it, right? We're just going. But actually, if we become intentional when we plug up that hole in the sinking ship, well, then we get to float, then we're buoyant, right? Then we raise up. Together, we can influence each other, and those vibes, our good vibes, will start to, support each other. And listen, this isn't just something that I'm saying and making up. Like, there's so much modern science to back this up. Go and check out any of Joe Dispenza's work, any of Greg Braden's work, any of Bruce Lipton's work, all on energy and how connected we are, because science is now being able to actually see this energy. Like John said at the beginning, it's like we take for granted this invisible energy, but actually it's very tangible now. We can see it in the smallest of cells, and in science now, the tools that they're using, they can see this stuff. You can actually go and you can see what that energy bubble that I mentioned looked like. Right, you can actually see that now if you're that way inclined. But regardless how deep you want to go, if you want to geek out a bit the way we do, just know that actually you rub off on other people. And I think you know this already, but it's just a nice reminder, because energetically it can make all the difference to your life and how your life actually starts to play out. So just remember that you can generate that energy from within. And when we apply that intention and that energy with those habits that we mentioned about, like our thoughts, our emotions, our food, our hydration, our movement, and so on, when we do that, we then actually get to make sure that we aren't stress compounding. We're not adding stress to our system. We're alleviating it every day. So we get to actually have this wonderful feeling of being energized compounding. And then we just get to be this big bundle of energy, right? And that will take you places. That will drive you, won't it?
Yeah, for sure, guys. And the important thing as well now is to think about actually scoring yourself on your energy. Because this is like we've already challenged you to keep an energy diary, and now it's important, like every day, every week, every month, keep scoring yourself on your energy to see how your energy is, and it will fluctuate from day to day, but your goal is to eventually keep it like as consistent as possible for the majority of your day, weeks and your months. And so what we want you to do now after listening to this is to actually grab your wellness journal and score yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being low, 5 being high. So basically you base it on obviously how you feel, how your energy is. So if you're feeling fully energized and awesome, then you'll score yourself a 5. If you're feeling very low and fatigued, then you'll score yourself a 1. Okay, and if you're scoring yourself every day and you're going 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and you're trying all these different things, coffee, energy bars, all this stuff, and you're still scoring yourself 1, 1, 1, that's a sign that the external things are not going to give you the result you want. You've got to now think internally. You've got to think about what we've already spoken about. Okay, time for yourself. You've got to think about avoiding kind of those energy vampires and stop wasting time on stuff that doesn't matter. Okay, so once you start doing that, you'll start to see a pattern, and you can start to then bring that those numbers up and get you into a more balanced, consistent state of energy. So
that's the key. That really is the key. Like John said there, he's like, just witness what are you scoring yourself just for a week. Don't even change anything. Just score yourself and see what's happening, and then start to change it, because it's not about scoring 5 every time and being the best. Okay, it is about you just noticing where you are and making little incremental increases to make sure that you're performing more and more in your direction that you want. Exactly, and it's important. So, like you said, it's not important about the 5. So even it's not like some days if you go from like 1 and then other days 5 and then back down to 1, that's extreme. Even if you stay consistently at 3, that's better. That's healthier for you to stay balanced than it is to go between extremes. So use this to really gauge how you're progressing each day, okay? And then when you start to see that pattern, start to make those tweaks, okay? And basically just journal on the steps that we've already mentioned and just become more aware. And the more aware you become, you actually start to think, oh, actually, I know where I need to change. I know where to make these little tweaks. And you start to find they're actually easier to make. And then don't take any time at all. Yeah. You just make the decision, you do it, and you start to feel more energized. Okay, so see how you get on with that. And it'll be especially very interesting as well for us to know how you get on. Yeah, let us know. Like, we want to know. Like, because we know you guys are really like consuming all this stuff that we're sharing, but are you implementing it? Because ultimately, there's no point listening if you're not going to do anything about it. The intention is pure, the intention is good, which is amazing, but we want the best for you, and we want to see you energized. We want these bundles of energy in the world, because when you are energized, you live at your best. You make good decisions, you're more patient, you put higher vibes out into the world, and that's obviously what we're aiming for here. That not only you feel better, but everybody else does as a result as well. Alright, so thank you for listening once again, and we'll see you soon.